The word generational gets thrown around far too often in hockey discourse, and for a good chunk of the 2010s, that word, combined with words like franchise and elite, took over many a hockey discussion amongst fans. Today, we are dissecting whether or not we are witnessing a generational defenseman in the NHL today. Because man, oh man, is Matthew Schaefer giving us reasons to talk about him once more. Matthew Schaefer, my friends, is now up to 44 points in 61 games played for the New York Islanders, including 20 goals. He had a double-goal performance against the Montreal Canadiens Thursday last week, went pointless against Columbus on Saturday, and then yesterday against the Florida Panthers, he scores 2 goals and an assist for 3 points, all while playing 25, 23 minutes per night. Matthew Schaefer, everybody, is a 20-goal scorer at 18 years old, an extremely young 18-year-old as well. If this guy was born just 2 weeks later, he would not have been eligible for the 2025 draft. He would have been eligible for this year's draft. And now, we have some crazy stats that have been posted out there and dissected because of this Schaefer double-goal performance. Corey Wright said, Matthew Schaefer is the first Islanders defenseman to score 20 goals in a season since Denny Potvin in 1985-1986. With tonight, Matthew Schaefer's goals, it's the first time ever a defenseman has been the first rookie to score 20 goals in an NHL season. Take a look at this, eh? First rookie to 20 goals in the NHL, Matthew Schaefer was the first guy to do it this year. The last guys were Mishkov, Bedard, Wyatt Johnston, Michael Bunting, Kaprizov, Kubalik, Pedersen, Besser, Matthews, Panarin, Hoffman, McKinnon, none available, and then you have yourselves Gabe Landeskog in 2011-2012. So obviously, this is a pretty big list of forwards. Schaefer's the only defenseman here. He's the only guy, period, to have ever done this. First rookie to 20 goals in a season. First time a defenseman has ever accomplished that. That is nuts. Not one of these losers is on here twice. Okay, yeah. Boy, the Canucks sure looked promising there for a second. Yeah, okay. We're not gonna dive too deeply into that. Take a look at this as well. Schaefer has become the 4th rookie defenseman ever with a 20-goal season. The other ones, if you are curious, you have Brian Leetch, who had scored 23 goals as a rookie for the Rangers in 1989. Barry Beck, for the Rockies back in 1978, had 22 goals. Dion Phagouf had 20 goals for the 2006 Calgary Flames as a rookie. And Matthew Schaefer has 20 goals this year. Of course, though, Schaefer's individual record of being the first guy to hit 20 goals amongst the rookie class, whilst being the rookie doing this at 18 years old, obviously this is an incredible feat, and it really gets me thinking about whether or not this is a generational defender. Now, in order to fully dissect that claim, let's just talk about generational for a second here, because to me, what generational means is a once-in-a-generation type defenseman. An elite player, in my eyes, is a player that would be a first-line player, a top-pair player, on the majority, if not all, NHL teams. A franchise player is somebody that defines the franchise. Somebody that when you think of the player, you think of the team, you think of the jersey, you think of the logo, that player comes to mind. A franchise-defining player is like Henrik Sedin or Daniel Sedin in Vancouver. Absolute best-in-the-world superstars? Maybe not all the time, but for one season they were. But a franchise-defining player for Vancouver? Absolutely yes. To help us out, let's go over to a few other YouTube videos in the past. This is the 2015 NHL Draft broadcast, which is notable because it was Connor McDavid's draft year. Within this draft broadcast, there were mentions of the previous quote-unquote Canadian generational players. You had Bobby Orr listed as the first one. Guy Lafleur was listed over here as well, as was Eric Lindros, Wayne Gretzky, Mario Lemieux, and Sidney Crosby. The idea that they were talking about back on NBC was that McDavid was 7th out of all of these guys. So if you were to label it out, Orr, Lafleur, Gretzky, Lemieux, Lindros, Crosby, and then McDavid, that was the lineage. That was how it was supposed to be. Now, I also wanted to turn to our YouTube video that we made back in when was this from? 2019. Talking about franchise and generational prospects. This is a graph that I made. It's really old, and a lot of these opinions are from literally 7 years ago. A lot of folks asked why don't we make these kinds of videos anymore. It's because they literally take hours to make. This is not an easy video to make. It takes a lot of time. But this is how I was breaking it down mentally in my head. I thought that elite, franchise, generational, and generational was a good way to break it down. Some guys could be halfway towards the next tier, but the only guy who would ascend to the top tier was Connor McDavid. You can see in the midst there, Rasmus Dahlin was a really good defenseman. I had Cale Makar as a elite franchise player, and Elias Pettersson as a franchise player. Maybe Pettersson was that for a season or two, but absolutely not anymore. I think out of the past 10 years worth of NHL drafts, the only generational defenseman you can say has been Cale Makar, if not Quinn Hughes, if you wanted to toss that out there too. It's kind of weird because they're both very good and they're both in the same tier, but saying that there's only one per generation kind of contradicts that idea, doesn't it? But still, the point remains, what Matthew Schaefer is doing is still better than what Quinn Hughes and Cale Makar were doing when they were draft eligible. Just take a look at this. Cale Makar, drafted in 2017, he ended up playing another season or two in the NCAA with UMass. He made his NHL debut at 20 years old, at least in his first full season in the National Hockey League. Quinn Hughes, on the other hand, same thing, drafted in 2018, didn't play with the Vancouver Canucks until the end of the 2018-19 season, and then he had his first full season in 2019-20. Which was also Makar's rookie season. Matthew Schaefer is already doing better in the NHL right now compared to what Quinn Hughes and Cale Makar were doing when they were the same age that Schaefer is. They were in college, Schaefer's in the league, and he's scoring 20 goals in a year, which is something that Quinn Hughes, unfortunately, has never done before. Cale Makar has had 20-goal seasons. He's had a few. He's had a 30-goal season as well. But his first 20-goal season didn't come until Cale Makar was, 23 years old? Schaefer's got that down on 18. So, you tell me, you be the judge. You can say that generational defensemen are very hard to come by. It's very hard to label them as well. In that list that NBC showed off, there was only one in Bobby Orr. Everybody else was a forward or a center. Lemieux, Lindros, Gretzky, Crosby, Lafleur. But I'd say there were a number of defensemen that can be labeled as generational, once-in-a-generation type guys. Maybe Nick Lidstrom is in that conversation. Cale Makar, by default, should be, but the fact that Quinn Hughes exists makes that difficult to argue, and it kind of contradicts the rule in itself. And you could even say Landon Dupont next year could be on pace to doing that. But my question to you here is Matthew Schaefer a part of that group? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Sign on, and bye.